Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another episode of
You're Already Accepted, a community
rewatch. Give me that. Come on, give me that.
Give me.
That was a Christian and I having a little rock
Finger
power moment there.
snakes.
Yeah. What'd you say?
Finger snakes.
Finger snakes.
Snake jazz.
Yeah.
White snake jazz. Anyway, folks, I'm Christian. That's Ethan. And that's Jonathan.
Hello.
We are here for episodes 19 and 20 of season 1.
Yeah.
That is Beginner Pottery and the Science of Illusion. So we're going to get started with Beginner Pottery. A little synopsis of this episode in case you forgot kind of what the episode was about between watching it and watching this podcast. So Jeff is trying to figure out what the ultimate blow-off class is for the semester. Granted, I don't really know how semesters at Greendale work because I feel like there's a new class every other episode.
Yeah.
It's got to be like a block class. Like
Probably
first block, second block.
7 weeks.
Yeah.
So Jeff is going in for his participation credit, right? He's like, I'm just going to participate the crap out of this thing, right? So he and Abed and Annie go into pottery class, but he realizes that there's somebody there. His name's Rich. He's a doctor. Shh, not a doctor. Anyway, Rich is a doctor, and he's just like a pariah of, or not a pariah, a protege of pottery. He just is good at everything, and Jeff really takes it in the ego. He doesn't like that he's not good at it because his mom always told him that he's the best at everything, right? So that's sort of the A plot, like the Jeff plot. I guess Jeff doesn't necessarily have the A plot every time, but the rest of the gang, Shirley, Troy, Britta, and Pierce are going and sailing. But since Greendale is in Colorado, the nearest body of water is 2 hours away, but you use nautical miles, Abed, not hours in sailing. So basically they're in a parking lot with the boat, and Pierce wanted to be the captain because he was the one that suggested everybody join the class, but Shirley gets it instead. So there's sort of that. Shirley is learning to be a nice person, but also being like standing up for herself. And then Pierce just wants to be part of the group. So that's kind of what you see with the dynamics of the episode.
For A+ stuff, I had the line where Pierce walks in, he goes, "Ahoy, guess what class I signed up for?" And Jeff goes, "Singing with Tennille," which, like, I'm not even a big Captain and Tennille fan, but I just appreciated the reference.
Yeah.
So that was my
A little bit of a dated reference for some of our younger audience out there, but
love will keep us together. Boom, boom. Kind of a goofy song. Whatever. But hey, they're trying. So I love the choice of actor for Rich, just because I feel like it's a great idea of making him look essentially like Jeff. And it's funny too, because like he's a little bit shorter than he's probably like 6 inches shorter than Jeff too. So it's like he's smaller, but he's the bigger man.
Yeah.
And so I like that thing, and then kind of points to like Jeff's like larger struggle with like his self-loathing and his insecurities. It's like the Rick and Morty toxicity episodes. Like Rich is what Jeff would be if you get rid of his crippling like self-loathing. Exactly. Right. And so I liked that. I love the choice of him. I forgot the name of the guy, but he's a very much a character actor.
The actor for Rich, his name is Greg Cromer. He looks like one of those guys that you've seen in other stuff, but I don't recognize any of his other credits on IMDb. He kind of reminds me of the guy on The Office. I can't remember the character's name, but when Jim goes to Stanford branch and he's like the boss of that branch, and they're playing Call of Duty. That guy?
No, he shows up later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He shows up later, but I cannot remember. I know you're talking about.
But he kind of reminds me of that guy. They kind of look similar. So that's what I thought it was. So I went, they're not. It's not the same guy.
Is Rich the guy in Parks, the dad from Parks and Rec who wants Twilight in the time capsule?
No. Rich doesn't. The actor doesn't really have any credits that I recognize.
Gotcha.
Just
because you don't recognize him doesn't mean them.
Well, I mean, I can pull it up. His credits are pretty. It's definitely character actor type stuff.
Like
but
expensive, but not unique.
It's like a one-off episode. Like he was in Call Me Cat.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in an episode of Criminal Minds, an episode of NCIS.
Everyone's in an episode of Criminal Minds.
Exactly. Episode of Grey's Anatomy.
He's believe it or not, he was like the most sadistic killer on the show. But then he goes and plays Rich here.
Yeah.
But no, I really do like that point that he has sort of like the Milwaukee accent where like there's a nice lilt to it. And I just hate Rich's character in general. I'll talk about that a little bit more later, but I do like the actor who plays him. I think he does a good job with like the role that he's playing. Yeah.
And then I loved the choice of Tony Hale for the professor. I feel like he's kind of an underrated character actor. But again, he's good in everything I've seen him in. Obviously, all three of us are big fans of Arrested Development.
I wouldn't say big fan. Yeah, right. Screw that Netflix stuff.
Yeah,
no.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Early Arrested Development.
Exactly, I just love I love the work that he does in this episode. He was able to kind of flip from like serious
to like, unhinged.
What's going on with my blueberries?
Yeah,
to like just
like blueberries with everything.
Yeah, if you have
three notes of that Righteous Brothers song,
I'll come at you with everything.
I want to kiss you on the mouth.
Yeah. And then just another small thing was like the Jeff Goldbluming like little thing where he's like, wait,
I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
That's great acting.
Yeah.
It is. By Joel McHale.
I know. It's like,
that should have won like an Emmy or something like that.
At least he's shout out by Jeff Goldblum. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
I love the cardigan that he's wearing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big cardigan guy. Like that, like sort of mustardy coffee color. Like nice. It's got a nice collar. It's even got pockets. Like, I can appreciate a Joel McHale cardigan. So
I love it.
Yeah.
What do you guys got?
I just loved. Honestly, this episode knocked it out of the park for me. I thought we've talked a lot about how Dan Harmon and the showrunners can make a pretty like, ridiculous conduit out of like something very serious. And so the idea of like using a pottery class to like wrestle with your own insecurities about like not being good enough. And then also just the idea of like sailing in the middle of a parking lot in landlocked Colorado. I think that Shirley comes into her own with that too. So I like both plots. I think that's an A+ writing for the episode. But just a couple of little details. Like there weren't very many like memorable lines, I don't think, from just this, but there were a lot of like, okay, the whole like once Pierce goes overboard, because he goes overboard twice, or he gets hit with the boom once, and then they're like, oh, if I would have hit you with the storm just now, you would have all failed. And then he actually falls off the boat, and then like Chang pulls up into his parking spot. He's like, hey, move. I just love the whole like objective awkward shot of like, you weren't there for the drama, so now like it must be really awkward, so it's like coming into this. And then I also like
watching like a band camp practice, like what the hell's going on?
Right? Why do they have twirlers? They're playing the trombone. But then later on, whenever they're like going to save Pierce, they're like, all right, get aboard the Iron Jimmy and move. And so like they're like, all right, guys, we gotta get rescue Pierce. And like there's a shot of the boat like moving past the classroom, and Britta's like, come on, like she's like waving her arm, and like one of the kids in the classroom was just like looking over like, are you seeing this?
Yeah,
like I just love that. It's so like the static like removed like objective shot of that. Like there's just
quick thing. They literally in this show get the most extras. Like I keep on like expecting to see like, I don't know, like a young guy, like a young Adam Devine from Workaholics in there or something. Like, but they get literally the most random extras that you never ever see.
And you kind of think they might be students, like they might just be legit college students. That they just
I also think Pierce had a lot. Like honestly, I was rooting for Pierce in this episode.
Yeah,
he had a lot of really good moments. But he talked about like whenever I was delivered, I had my umbilical cord wrapped around my neck, both my arms and is it both arms and a leg?
Yeah,
something like that. It's like there was a point where the doctor stopped delivering me and just started laughing. So he says, if I let being bad at something stop me, I wouldn't be here. What some people call feeling, I call living. It's breakfast, and I'm not leaving until I've cleaned out the whole buffet. And it's just like, again, knowing how Pierce is for the rest of the show, like he doesn't really deserve that line, but you're also like, all right, Chevy Chase, like
you have some perspective,
exactly, right? And just the whole idea of like, he's in this simulation of sailing on the ocean, and he goes and he builds his own boat to get back on the ship. Like I love sort of like bending the rules with stuff like that. Like I remember my freshman year of college, we did this like, it's like a poverty simulation for education majors to show that their students aren't always going to have like perfect homes to come from. And like some people were quote unquote drug dealers, and there was like packets of Splenda. So what they would do is whenever they would go out to work, they would like hide their packets of Splenda in somebody else's like house. So whenever the police would come, they would bust the neighbors, not the people who do it. And like they weren't told to do that, but they also weren't told not to do that. You know, it's kind of like it's kind of like Air Bud. Like he's right, there is no rule that says a dog can't play basketball. But just and that's something that I think only Pierce would have thought to do. Like I don't think that if Annie would have been kicked out of the, like if she would have failed, she would have been like, oh no, like I've got to wait till next semester to take it. But Pierce is like, no, I'm gonna make my own way. So which
like that lends itself to like me actually believing that he was once a big you know Wipes like CEO and like all this stuff, like,
right?
Because they always like kind of reference that in his money and like his like personal success.
Well, because the SS Childish Millionaire or the Childish Tycoon,
yeah,
that's his boat, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I also thought it was funny that the name of the ship was the SS Nose Candy, which is just a straight up cocaine reference. And so I was really hoping, I mean, obviously I've seen this episode like 3 or 4 times now, but I really wish that, what they could have done is have Pierce get kicked off the boat, and then he comes back with like a group of other students who had failed the sailing class before, and he like finds out that his company was the one who owned the ship that got seized in a government auction.
Yeah.
And so like they come back as like pirates.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like that would be kind of like unique for the show. Like it would make sense for the show too. Like they're like, we're taking over this whole exercise. Like, screw you. We're gonna take the ship back. Like I feel like that would have been a fun little like side plot, side
for
conflict.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I love that idea. Yeah.
And then the other quote that I really liked was the very, very end of the episode. Like, Jeff has kind of come to terms with the fact that he's not the best at everything, which is a nice little lesson to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize that Rich is like trying so hard because he doesn't have the support, which like, honestly, I do feel bad for Rich, but not until the very end of the episode. Because it's like you hear his mom's voice like, an ashtray, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you practice being a doctor? Not that it'd bring your brother back. It was supposed to be you on that roller coaster, Richard. And you see him like slowly like turn stoic and like scowl. And the first time I watched the episode, I was like, is he going to come back as like a villain? Like you only see him in the zombie episode later on.
You see him in another one. There's like
the one where he's a banana in the zombie episode.
Yeah, no, there's another one though where, because I don't remember which episode it is, but I remember he and Jeff are having a rivalry again. And then at the very end of the episode, Jeff goes over to his apartment.
Oh yeah, because he starts dating Annie. I'm pretty sure that's the Halloween episode.
I don't think so.
There's like, show me how to be. Yeah. Okay. You're right.
Am I confusing him with somebody else? Because
no, that's the episode. I think it's like right after the Halloween episode, because like Annie and Rich hit it off, and I think they started like kind of dating after that.
He's in 3 episodes. Yeah. The zombie episode, this one, and then Asian population studies, which is the episode where Chang tries. Let's see.
Is it when Shirley?
Oh, it's the one where you find out that Shirley's pregnant.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else happens in that episode.
I don't think I know anything else that happens in that episode.
I don't remember.
But I know I love that whole like, it was supposed to be you on that roller coaster. And again, like obviously like in real life that'd be really, really tragic that he lost his brother. But again, he's a doctor in a beginner pottery class, and that's what he's doing to like compensate for the fact that he doesn't have any support from his family. I don't know. It was a really funny inclusion for the end of the episode.
I agree. Ethan?
I really appreciate the first study room scene, the very introduction of this episode. Just there's so many good lines. You mentioned the Pierce telling Abed that you don't measure water in hours. You measure it in, I think, not, or he says leagues, I think. You measure it in leagues, not hours. And then Troy says, black person on a boat. I've got to see this. I mean,
I can swim, racist.
Yeah, there's just some good lines in there. And then Shirley has a really good one too that made me chuckle, where she says, I was going to take a class on how to put together an online dating profile, but I think sailing in the parking lot is less pathetic.
Yeah. Which
you know,
no.
Yeah. I think we haven't talked about Chang yet, but he kind of has a little bit of an underrated like F plot. Like it's not even like it's just kind of like a throwaway gag.
Mm-hmm.
But like
he
gets his clothes stolen at the YMCA multiple times, and at the end we obviously see it happen again.
Yeah.
And just the fact that Chang would be the guy that would get his clothes stolen, and I mean Ken Jeong likes to take his clothes off in this show a lot. There's a couple times where we see
I know these events like the back of my Chang.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't get a lot of screen time in this episode, but you mentioned him too driving up like in the parking lot on his moped.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time he comes on screen, and Ken Jeong just steals the show. And then the Pierce falling overboard scene, you mentioned him coming back, but just him falling overboard, and like it's so dramatic, and they throw the life preserver out there, and then like Troy just like lets it go.
Yeah. God, what have we
done? Yeah. What in God's name have we done? It's just so dramatic. And that's what makes Community so good, is to take these really minor things and make it so dramatic.
Yeah. Like Troy's wearing gloves too. Like, it's just like,
and Starburns is like, man, that guy's life is one big joke.
Yeah.
And it's like, why would anybody besides Starburns, like, why would he be the person to talk about
I think that's
right?
what the whole point is. Like the fact that Starburns is the one that said that is ironic.
It's Starburns.
My name is Alex.
Yeah.
What you got for leading the class, Jonathan?
I had Jeff for this one. I mean, I think there's a lot of good options here. I think I just did Jeff because I appreciated like the emotional work that he had to kind of go through in the episode.
I think like when I think about this episode, I want to watch those Pottery like scenes again. Yeah, just every little bit of it.
This is definitely an episode that you can rewatch.
Yeah, for sure. And so, yeah, and like I like the idea of like he goes like from like I don't really care to like, well, I don't really care, but I don't, you know,
I don't want him to care.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And so it's just,
but then it's like, oh well, I had to work at this to get good at it. I'm still not great at it.
Yeah,
and I think that's a lot more realistic than I feel like. Yeah, I hate again Rich's character. Mm-hmm. I don't hate Rich, the actor, or Greg, whatever his name is, but like I hate the trope. I think of in Parks and Rec, the guy, Keegan Michael Key's character.
Yeah.
That what's
Donna
marries. He's like, oh yeah, I just baked these blueberry pies right after I volunteered at the homeless shelter. And you know, like Ron, I saw that I heard that your truck was having a squeak, so I fixed it. You know, just like that doesn't happen in real life. And if it does, like nobody likes that person, you know? And so I do appreciate that Jeff has to go through the arc of like, hey, you're going to be good at some things and really, really bad at a lot of other things. Like, I don't think that I was ever told that as a kid. I was always told like in guidance class, like, if you can dream it, you can achieve it. You can do anything that you want to. And so when I was like 6 years old and I was like, oh yeah, well, I want to go swimming in a volcano. And if I dream about that, can I do it? You know, but like,
Christian, don't be smart.
I have Shirley. I mean, I think you could go with Pierce too, but I think Christian, that's your answer. So I'm going to go with Shirley just because we really get to see her like shine in this episode where she's not just like a side character. I mean, she's kind of, besides Pierce, like the boating plot, she's kind of the main character. We see her go from just that's nice. And that's literally like what the boat instructor makes fun of her for. But then she gets to turn into the captain.
Yeah.
And later the admiral of a class, you know, that doesn't really matter. But
don't ruin it
for her, that's a big, you know, it's a big step for her as a character to become really confident in herself.
Especially because it comes after her getting stepped on by Andre. Like she doesn't have her bus.
Well, we just saw, I can't remember if it was before this one, but the episode with Family Day.
Yeah.
Where Abed's dad yells at her and tells her she's a bad mom and stuff. And just like, so we're really seeing these episodes, this kind of part of the season where Shirley is
doing some heavy lifting.
Yeah. She's really pulling a lot of weight in terms of, she's not just a side character and just one of the group. Like she's a strong, independent woman. We know that, but we start to actually see that besides just her claiming that she is, like she is showing it and she's showing the group as well. Like I'm not just the token black mom character that's just there to, you know, to be the nice Christian woman. I mean, she's pulling her weight and is really, I think showing just how important she is to the group. I don't think she gets a lot of appreciation as a character. And maybe she doesn't have some like the funniest lines, most memorable lines, but I think in terms of likable characters, I think you can learn from. I think she's one of those that she's not perfect, but I think there's a lot that can be taken from her character as a good thing.
Go ahead.
Jinx me. Double bounce me. No. But no, I was thinking just like her sentiment early in the episode, like kind people are always kind, even when it's not convenient. And I was thinking about this story I heard from a friend of mine recently. Well, that was weird. I just called my girlfriend a friend. Okay. My girlfriend.
Oh.
My former girlfriend.
The world's best friend.
Yeah.
Ooh, perfect boyfriend.
Yeah. But like, it was this, she was telling me about how like her friend was like dating this guy and like things were going well and like he was super sweet and all this. But then like, she was just like, you know, after like a few months, just kind of thinking about like, I'm not sure if I'm quite into him anymore, whatever. And she's like, in a nice way, like broke it off. And the guy was just like, okay, what the heck? Like just, I mean, turned into like, essentially like a monster. And it was like, yeah, that guy was never like he was a snake in the grass.
He was
like,
a nice guy. Yeah. Right. Like stereotypical nice guy.
Yeah. But he wasn't a good man. Like
I'm a nice guy.
Yeah. I'm a good dude. Like,
and let me get in your pants.
Yeah. And I just love that. Like you said, like, again, like in this season, you know, she gets criticized for being a bad mom. Like this episode, like Andre takes advantage of like of her resources and what she has, but like again, she chooses to like be who she is and like doesn't go against herself just because it's more convenient and stuff like that. And obviously, like it's cool to see that like at the end she still succeeds. Like you know, and doesn't have to go against. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's one of the few instances I think in the show where her like Christian faith is actually like a positive, you know. I don't know. I agree. Shirley's probably the most maturely developed in this episode. I love the quote where it's, the sea may be cold and unforgiving, but I'm not. I'd rather be kind and step down every once in a while than turn my back on a friend.
Yeah.
And you talk about like nice guy syndrome, and I definitely had that in high school. Of like, I'm a nice guy because I want you to like me. But the idea of like being kind when it's inconvenient, like it takes a special kind of like understanding. Like I run out of patience with people pretty quickly, especially if they don't realize they're being difficult. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if somebody's like angry, I feel like I'm better at like kind of calming them down. But if it's just somebody who like maybe emotionally or intellectually or like just situationally isn't aware, like I lose patience really quickly. So like Shirley, I don't think that Shirley had to give Andre her van to go visit his new girlfriend. I think that was maybe an example of like kind of not toxic Christianity, but like infantile Christianity, where you're like, oh, anytime that I say something mean about somebody, that's a sin and I'm going to go to hell. Like a mature person in Christ, like doesn't think that way. Like there's some sort of like, there's some practical stuff of like, no, like Andre, you cheated on me and I need this van to take care of my kids.
Yeah.
And like, you can think of another way to go see your girlfriend. Like that wouldn't be, I don't know. So I see where she's coming from with the growth of like, I would rather be kind and get stepped on. I don't think that she's going back to the whole like submissive like ex-wife of like, oh, well, if Andre asks me to give him my house, then I'm going to do that. But I think that she does learn that like, I don't have to cut off Pierce from everybody else and make him drown. So I do like some heavy lifting that she does there, which is ironic because I didn't say that she was my leading the class for this episode. I did say it was Pierce, but after our conversation, I do definitely see a line for Shirley there. But I don't know. I feel like Pierce in this episode, I don't think that he really got like the redemption or the satisfaction that he deserved in this. Cause like he was the one who started the idea for the class. Like he signed up for the class and everybody joined him. Like he wanted to christen the boat and he couldn't get the wine bottle to break. And Troy's like, man, I wish I was as good as Pierce. If I was christening the boat, it would have broken by now. Like Troy's just, he's a treasure.
Yeah.
Pierce
gets the first who's going to drown the parking lot twice.
Permission to speak. You really screwed the pooch on that one, Captain.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I was saying his advice on like, man, if I would have let being bad at something stop me, I wouldn't have been here. Like I want him to get back on the boat and I want him to have not, I don't know. I wish that he wouldn't have been the butt of the King of the World joke. Mm-hmm. It's like, I've got to do this. Don't ruin a perfect week.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like he has that sort of like growth moment and then he becomes the butt of the joke again.
Yeah.
You know?
It was kind of
go ahead. Yeah.
It was kind of a weird cut too.
Yeah.
Like, you guys feel that where it was like, he gets on the top, I'm King of the World. And like, it shows the picture, like, don't ruin a perfect week. And it was like a pretty sharp cut.
Yeah.
Like,
I definitely felt like there was a weird, like, that was a weird spot in the episode for that. Like, it was funny because it was similar to the Patrick Swayze thing, which I made it before he died. It's in good taste.
Shout out to Patrick Swayze.
Yeah. But I don't think for a lesser audience, for an intellectually inferior, but like they didn't really make a reference to that up until that point. So it just seemed a little weird. Like, but by the time the scene ended, like you almost hadn't really realized what the joke was about, you know?
Yeah. They could have lingered on that shot of the teacher for like an extra half second or even like cut back to Pierce or something like that.
Or even have the teacher have a throwaway line of like, man, ever since DiCaprio got into sailing, it hasn't been the same, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. But no, you're right that was kind of a
good
weird
joke, bad execution, maybe.
Yeah. No, it was clever for sure. Cause like I had forgotten about it was funny in the pottery class. I'd forgotten about that joke whenever they introduced it in the sailing plot. Like I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, the execution of it was a little weird. But
for extra credit, I had just a couple. Jeff calls Annie Laura Ingalls, which was like the writer of Little House on the Prairie. Heard good things. Obviously,
the TV show that was on for like 20 years.
Yeah. And then Abed said he was making falafel during like the pottery montage. Obviously, that's a reference to his dad's business, which was a falafel business, which fell apart after 9/11.
9/11 was pretty much the 9/11 for the falafel business.
What do you guys got?
I don't really have much in terms of extra credit, other than that. This was more of just something I was thinking about, and I think I'm overthinking it. Some of you guys have an answer. Jeff calls pottery the ultimate blow-off class. And I went back and looked. He doesn't mention billiards as a blow-off class, but wouldn't that pretty much be the ultimate blow-off class? Because Jeff was really into that one. Like, he was going all out for dressing up and stuff. I mean, it's not blow-off class because he had to do something, but I guess I'm confused more about how the class structure works.
I know.
This is more of a question about class structure
Right.
than that. I was just something I was thinking about when he said that, and it wasn't really a huge deal.
It's a weird spot in the season for him to be taking a new class.
Yeah.
I agree with that. It's almost like, oh, well, I can knock out 3 credits in this like accelerated course. Like it would have taken like a single line to kind of like wrap that up.
Yeah.
But I agree. It's kind of weird that like 3 episodes ago we were in billiards and now we're on pottery.
It's like, how is this like a 3 block per semester? Like, how does this work?
Because the only class that they appear in consistently is Spanish, and then the next season it's anthropology, and then biology, and then history. Like those are sort of the classes that they take.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's an interesting little plot hole thing.
Yeah, I guess like because I remember like at our college, I knew people who did like a 6-week volleyball thing.
Yeah,
or like a 3-week racquetball.
I hated those people. I had not the people, but I hated that. Like I had to take like history of the American economy and the historian's craft and its uses. I was a history major, and then some people were like, "Oh, I took jogging."
Yeah,
like
beginner basketball.
Yeah,
this is a free throw. Like, come on.
In basketball, you must dribble before you take a step.
Yeah,
taking a step without dribbling is called traveling.
Yeah, don't travel without a passport. And now we're on to
And this is what we call a double dribble.
Yeah.
Make sure you wear a bib. Otherwise, you will get dribble on yourself.
Yeah. From Elon.
From Elon.
Gosh. Any other extra credit things?
Yeah. I didn't really have. I was just kind of talking earlier about that alternate plot. I just always like thinking about, like, obviously the showrunners do a good job with the plots that they have. I like to think of hypotheticals of like, man, yeah, what if Pierce had a pirate gang and they took over the nose candy? Like that could have been something where at the end, Shirley realizes that she doesn't have to be a hard ass and she doesn't have to be somebody to get stepped on. Like Pierce kind of coming back for revenge is like, oh, maybe I was a little too harsh. It's not, and like, I don't think the payoff was bad in this episode. Like, I think it was fine. It would be interesting to have a little pipe. Cause I don't think that they have an episode. I mean, cause they have Floor's Lava. They have Paintball Star Wars. They have Paintball Cowboys. They have Paintball, just paintball, but they don't have anything that's like just pirates. I don't think so. Yeah. Right.
Cool question. Okay. Because I feel like I feel confident in my answer. Do you guys feel like, not Jeff, but Rich had any experience with pottery?
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like the move like proved it, that like he knew, but like he didn't want to like.
I thought that was the whole, like, he obviously had experience with it, and that's what Jeff had to get let go of, was that this guy is obviously a pro, but
and Annie and Abed thinks that he's crazy, but he's right, you know. And so that's the whole thing, is Jeff has to start caring about this supposed blow off class to call out Rich, which is like the irony that he's bad at it and he's not supposed to care. But it's kind of like the idea of like, I feel like our family's really bad about this, of like, you try something and you're not good at it, so you don't keep up with it. Like Ethan and I were joking earlier about how like I spent $100 last week on like an equalizer for making music, and it was the purchase was worth it because it's something that I know I'm going to use like going forward. But then in the past, there were several times where our parents were like really, really into this one thing for like a month. Like my dad and mom were really into like engraving stuff, like engraving rocks or engraving glass, and so they bought all these like drill bits and like stations and things, and then they never used it. Like I don't even know. I know they still have it, but I don't know where it's at, you know.
So if anybody needs a Dremel tool, I can one.
I know a guy.
I know a guy.
It's called my mom.
If she can find it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think like similar to you, with like kind of some alternate universe like of this episode, I would have loved it to see like a montage of like instead of like them just talking about like for the Paul Blart Mall Cop, for the
pottery,
for sailing class. I would have loved it if it was like some sort of like kind of like heist movie montage where like Pierce gets Shirley, who gets Troy, who's like
you son of a bitch, come in.
Yeah, and like forget about Britta, but they're like, oh, Britta, yeah.
They try to get like Garrett, but he's like, I can't swim or something like that, or like I'm allergic to water, and it's
isn't
we're in a parking lot.
Isn't that what Pierce says? He's like, I can't swim.
Yeah, something like that in the parking lot.
Yeah.
So, but overall, I try to give this episode. I think at the time, I was.
You were in a bad mood.
Maybe I got so angry.
Why are you always so mad when you watch the show?
I don't know, man. I just life.
It makes you happy. That's why you watch it, right?
Exactly. So initially, like after I finished the episode, it was like a 6 out of 10. But I feel now I can give like a confident 7 out of 10, closer to an 8 than a 6 for sure. Again, just really enjoyable, succinct both plots, both good lines in both, good messages. Yeah, so I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. Like, this is probably a like Derek Carr level episode, I feel like.
Okay.
I feel that, yeah.
Are we talking Derek Carr before Justin Herbert entered the league?
No. This is like,
because he's sitting at third in the AFC West now. If Justin Herbert, so
well, I mean, now they got Russ too over in Denver.
Oh crap!
Yeah,
thanks for reminding me.
Is Russ 4?
No, Russ has got to be 2.
Did you see Russ last year?
Well,
Russ should not be cooking.
Let Russ cook.
Russ needs to get out of that kitchen. No, but I think with Russ, let's turn to a sports podcast real fast. I think Russ, like, he wanted out of Seattle and he hurt his hand. So like,
plus he's not young.
Yeah, like, and so I just think he kind of Russ is gonna say this, but I feel like he kind of gave up last year, and like, not completely, obviously.
Mahomes, Herbert, Carr, Wilson.
I'm going
Mahomes,
Wilson,
Carr,
Harvey, then Carr. Yeah.
Wait, so you're making this episode last?
Yeah, but
out of a really stacked division.
So you're saying,
out of a really strong division.
So you're giving this an AFC West out of
fourth in the AFC West out of
the rest of the NFL.
Yeah, out of
okay.
out of number 1 in the AFC South.
Yeah, that's okay, fair enough. Yeah.
So yeah, that's why. What do you guys got?
I give it an 8.5. This is probably, it's not top. It's probably a top 10 out of the whole show for me.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of my favorites from season 1. It's not one that I remember. There's not a lot of really memorable scenes from it until you go back and watch it and you're like, oh, I remember that. I laughed at that and it's still funny.
Yeah.
Like the pottery, the ghost scene.
Mm-hmm. The hilarious guy on guy.
It's the hilarious guy on guy. Yeah. Or I mean, seeing Tony Hale show up. Oh crap! I forgot he was in this episode, but he does really good. And
look at me. You have a gift, which is the second time they use that whole like.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at me in the eyes.
Yeah, the billiards guy too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Come on, I want you to hit me.
I want you to hit me.
I forgot how good this episode was,
yeah.
But it's enjoyable. There's really, I don't have any nitpicks for it.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, just like both plots are good. I actually would say I think I prefer the boat plot over the Jeff plot.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But the Jeff plot probably has more like
growth.
Yeah, it's more important for his character.
Yeah.
But I think I laughed more at the boat one. But they're both good plots. Like nothing, really no nitpicks. It's what Community does well of taking such I said it earlier, like a minor thing, 2 minor things, really, pottery class and sailing in a parking lot and making them these really dramatic, over the top, like high stakes things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the plots are just, I think I've mentioned this with another episode before, but like you could take both of these plots and put them out in their own episodes and like they'd still be really good episodes, I think. But the fact that they're both in the same episode makes this a top one for me.
Have you noticed? I feel like especially this first season in the episodes that we've watched, like obviously the first character that you meet in the show is Jeff. Like the whole reason he goes to Greendale is because he doesn't have a law degree. I feel like Jeff's storylines don't carry as far for me than some of the other storylines. Because we already know he's the main character. I don't know. Like, does that make sense? Like, in the span of this first season, like Jeff is the main character. Like, and obviously the Greendale 7 are main characters too, but like he's like the character. He's the leader of the group. I feel like I have a harder time enjoying Jeff's plots. Not that I don't enjoy them, but it's like, like in genealogy, like I liked the Abed, Shirley, Troy, Britta storylines better than I liked the Jeff plotline. Or in this one, like I enjoyed the sailing one more than the pottery one. It's not that I didn't enjoy the pottery one. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Is it kind of like the thing where like, because the show is about him, that like when you learn about others, like the other people and kind of see their growth, it's like, oh yeah, like we have this.
That's probably part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, man, I'm tired of seeing the New England Patriots win the Super Bowl. I want to see the Falcons win. Yeah. Maybe it's that. I don't know. I'm always rooting for the underdog, but because I mean, I think Jeff, in some ways for me, he's a little frustrating as a character. I think just because like I see him grow in so many different moments, and then in the next episode he's back to sort of like, it's like a 2-step forward, 1 step back.
Yeah.
Where it's like in this one he's already learned like community and family and friends, like these people I care about. And then in the next episode, he's like making fun of Pierce again. It's like, that's kind of how Dan Harmon's like wheel of storytelling works, is that you start here and then you end here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's almost like
he's just kind of stuck in a rut.
Kind of, yeah.
I like the 1 step forward, 2 steps back. He doesn't really go backwards, but he doesn't go forwards either. He just kind of stays where he's at.
I think from the beginning of season 1 to the end of season 1, there's growth, but from episode to episode, it's not
it
as
doesn't feel
it doesn't feel like it, right?
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
But no, I think something, Ethan, that you wrote down in the notes too was like the whole commentary on like failing and then not having the moment where you're actually succeeding, like being content with not being good at everything.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I can't think of any examples right now, but I feel like if this was another sitcom or another like Netflix, original series, like screw those. But like the equivalent of Jeff in that episode would be like he bests Rich and like
he becomes like really good at it to the point where it's like extreme, like he spent too much time on this.
Hyper reality, like they put it in a pottery contest and he wins or something. And he's like, Rich, let me tell you something, you're okay. And then they like raise each other's arms. I don't know. It's kind of like the whole thing in WWE where a baby face loses to another baby face and then he's like, come here.
Yeah.
Raises their arm and points to him. Right.
So this guy.
So I do appreciate sort of how it made me wrestle. Like it didn't make me like sad, but it made me kind of like cope with the idea of, it made me wrestle with it.
Yeah.
Wrestle. With like in my own life, like things that, I'm definitely not a natural at softball. And like, it really bothers me when there are people who are either one really talented and they just don't care. Like, people who play softball, like somebody played baseball in high school. And so they have the talent and now they're in like a rec league softball team and they're like, oh darn, I didn't reach far enough for this ball and now I missed it. Oh, well, like I really hate that. Cause I'm like, I have to work my butt off to be able to catch the ball and be able to hit the ball. And I'm still not good at it, right?
Yeah.
Or the people who just like, they just kind of pick up the bat and they're just naturally good. I'm like, it's not fair because I have to work and I care more. Sorry, I'm getting a little too passionate, right?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of it. Like Jeff, he took the class because it's a blow-off class. Like nobody goes to college unless you're an art major, but nobody.
Shots fired.
Yeah. Shots fired. But you know what I'm saying? Like being bad at pottery doesn't matter to you if you practice law for a living, right? Like playing softball doesn't matter to me if my eternal hope is in the kingdom of heaven or if I'm a recruiter for the university. Like that stuff doesn't matter. But to me, it's like my ego is injured.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, it makes me really sad. But I really like this episode for that reason, because again, there was on both plots there was some emotional resonance. So for the ratings for this, so beginner's pottery is the entry level. You're sort of a novice whenever you're in entry pottery. So if I'm looking at pottery equivalent to Skyrim has difficulty levels. I would rate this a master difficulty out of legendary difficulty.
Nice.
So again, if Jeff Winger was in Skyrim, he'd be taking twice as much damage and be doing half as much damage to NPCs, but it's worth it because he's in a later level. So does that make sense? My process.
Okay,
that's
perfect.
Okay, awesome.
Can you equate that to Laser Lotus?
Laser level. So that would be a level 5.
Just rasking him back down to level 4.
Yeah,
just rasking him back down.
So yeah, so Pierce would be taking twice as much damage and dealing half damage because he'd be a master at a legendary. But
this is super random, and I might cut this honestly, but I was somewhere earlier this week and somebody said, like, just casually, there's always money in the banana stand, and I kind of got sad and missed you guys. Can't wait for Sunday to see my friends again.
What did I always say? There's money in the banana stand. No touching. Yeah. No touching. What is that guy's name? Jeffrey
Tambor.
Jeffrey Tambor. Yeah. He's actually a really bad person, but it's whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's like because I think he's died. I think he's dead now. I think he died.
Oh man!
But I remember like
write that down.
I think a couple of people were saying that like whenever they were on the set of Arrested Development, like he would like pressure them and like doing.
He's still
stuff.
alive.
Oh, Jeffrey Tambor, if you hear this, you piece of
yeah. Hey, you know where I'm at, bro. Come 44 side. You know.
Anytime, anywhere.
Yeah. Besides Monday through Thursday, I got a thing.
I got a thing
from like
Monday through Friday. I'm at work 8 to 5. I get a break for lunch at 12.
Yeah.
Let me know ahead of time. I might be able to skip lunch and leave an hour early. But other than that, yeah.
I like to call my boss, like, or I'll text them.
I got to text them. They're pretty cool if I skip work, but I just got to let them know.
Yeah, exactly.
Flex it up, make it up later.
It's a great work environment, but screw you, Jeffrey 10. You know where I'm at, bro.
Okay. And
anyway, with that, I think we should move on to the next episode.
Fine.
So the Science of Illusion is episode 20. So I really like this episode, first of all, but the plot is that it's April Fool's. The dean, as always, is trying to be PC about everything. So he's like, all right, don't go too far with the April Fool's jokes. So you have the Greendale 7. Everybody kind of has their own little thing going on in this episode, which is really nice. So Pierce has become a level 6 laser lotus, which is his Buddhist religion, his cult. So Jeff and Troy are trying to basically April Fool's him by making him think that he's very powerful. Annie and Shirley join campus security because they both want to be the badass cop. Both of them obviously are very like sweet and innocent and kind of like unassuming characters. So they try to make up for it. Abed, I think, really just goes along with them. Like, that's kind of what he does in this episode. And then Britta doesn't like the idea of April Fool's jokes at other people's expense. So she wants to be somebody who jokes rather than being somebody who kills the joke, because the whole thing is she feels like a buzzkill. So she takes it a little too far when she wants to prank Senior Chang, but ends up dumping a cadaver on the campus. And so she doesn't want to fess up to it. But
she breaks a sign, too, so...
She breaks the sign. It was a new sign. You're right.
Yeah. That's the worst part about this. That was a new sign.
That was, I think, A+. Like, the dean killed it in this episode. He had so many good lines.
Yeah.
Because he was like, I just don't want this to hurt the school's reputation. And the police officer's like, trust me, your school's reputation is a lot worse than this. And then there's the part in the episode where the dean goes to Chang's Spanish class and has the dead frog and the sombrero with Chang's name on it. It's like, this is how we know it was someone in your class, because we know it wasn't Chang because he has a crippling fear of frogs.
Yeah,
man, I told you that in confidence. But then Pierce is like, well, how do you know it was one of us? And then the dean is like, allow me to answer your question with another question. Why are you dressed like a wizard?
Yeah.
And then Pierce like raises his wand. He's like, and he's like, all right, is he having a stroke? And he's like, anyway, that person that you jumped on the lawn wasn't just a cadaver. It was a human being with family and friends. So for every day that you don't fess up, you're going to meet one of them. All right, come on in, Glenda. And I like, that is the iciest way to torture somebody ever. Like, if you don't, like, I'm going to make you feel so guilty that we're going to meet one of this victim's family every single day. And like, honestly, Dean, like, good for you, because that's pretty icy on that. Another line I really liked was Annie chasing Jeff, and she's trying to spray the pepper spray, but she's running into it rather than stopping and spraying it. And so she's making fun of Shirley. She's like, Shirley, you don't deserve to be the hard ass cop or whatever. And Shirley's like, well, I'm not the one who's crying because I got pepper sprayed. And she's like, this is self-inflicted friendly fire. Okay. And Allison Brie has that whole like upset voice. Like, this is self-inflicted.
Yeah. Like,
okay. You have no idea what I've been through. Like, again, and she also has later on in the episode, she's like, oh, well, Britta, like, I just wanted people to take me more seriously. Like, she also has that like caring, compassionate voice too that she kind of whips out every once in a while. So I just like that comes up in this episode. And then Troy at the end of the episode, he's like, we dressed you up in the wizard costume because we thought it made you look like the Cookie Crisp wizard, which isn't even a reference that I get, because the Cookie Crisp mascot growing up was no wizard. It was a burglar. But like, it was a wolf though. Like, forever. Like, it's been a wolf. Like,
at the same time, I was like,
for us, it was a wolf. I had to look it up. The wizard must have been like really old, because
But what about the burglar?
I don't know about the burglar.
I don't think there's ever been one.
I don't think that's a thing.
Did you?
I didn't look up the burglar. I guess I probably should, but
I was thinking like the Hamburglar. Like, that's a thing. You wouldn't think that you'd have like intellectual infringement on two different properties, right? Like the Burger King Coyote. Oh, look, we can do it too. Like,
so it looks like there was a burglar commercial, or there were some burglars for Cookie Crisp. There's some pictures on Google screen grabs. So apparently at one point it was a burglar. For some reason, Cookie Crisp just like can't pick a mascot.
Yeah.
At least they're not 7-Up and just have a dot for their mascot, or Domino's and they have what are those things called?
It's just a domino, right? Like
no.
The Noid?
The Noid.
The Noid, yeah.
Like, that's a good mascot. Come on.
No, it's not. It's yeah. Anyway,
for A+ stuff for me, I love the line from Troy where he goes, Britta, you're more of a fun vampire because you don't just suck blood, you just suck. And then Commissioner Abed is probably, like, we talk about this a bunch, but like there's just different versions of Abed throughout the show. We have Batman Abed, which is probably my favorite, maybe overall. There's Outlaw Abed and like one of the cowboy paintball episode.
Han Solo Abed.
Yeah. But like I loved the okay, there's episode 6, I believe, earlier this season where like Abed like literally left for the episode and like just was gone for like, you know, the entire, like he's like
he delivered a baby in the background.
Yeah. Like he's like, I did too much last episode, so I'm just gonna leave. And so like I love this version where he's like, I'm just gonna hang around and like be in the background and like pretend like I'm watching something, and like so he's all there and like it's classic Abed, but like he doesn't get involved until he needs to.
Which is kind of what he did before he came to Greendale. Was he was the observer, right? He just was living in a movie, right? Yeah.
And so I love the principle of like it's like you have 24 hours to solve this case.
I just got off the phone with the mayor. Stop doing that.
You're not doing this right. Come on.
I know how to slam a table.
Yeah. And so I loved I just love that character. And then Britta's line later at the very end, near the end of the episode, she goes, knock knock, who's there? Cancer. Oh good, I thought it was Britta.
Come on in. I thought it was Britta. And like you feel bad because like she hasn't fully diverged into like the Britta that we know and hate later on in the season, but like she is sort of like the straight woman, like the buzzkill. And they lean into that a lot more in later seasons. But like I thought she made a really good point in this episode that like it was mean for Jeff and Troy to make fun of Pierce because like he was brainwashed in a cult, and like April Fool's jokes at the expense of other people aren't that funny. Like, I really hate those YouTube videos where it's like, what's up, guys? Today we're going to be, you know, dumping cow manure on random people and see how they react. Like, I hate, or like the whole, like, you walk up to somebody and you're being really combative and then you're like, calm down, dude. Like, what's up?
It's a prank, bro.
It's a prank, bro. Come on, man. Like, I hate that because I hate that. So, I mean, like, I don't think Beretta's in the wrong for wanting to have this little Senior Ching with a sombrero. I think she just made the joke went too far because she dropped the cadaver on the ground. Like,
I thought that was honestly, like maybe I'm not very funny. I know that for a fact, but I thought like that was kind of cute. Like that's a fun like little, you know, and like if Chang was scared and like had to run out the room, like that kind of works, you know. But
it's just because it's not Jeff's level of funny.
Yeah,
and that's what I hate too is people who gatekeep humor. It's like you don't understand why pickle Rick is funny.
Yeah,
like don't even talk to me.
You get out.
There's the door.
Yeah. What do you guys got?
Well, you guys pretty much took all my scenes. I mean, it's a good episode. There's a lot of good moments. Obviously, I figured that we'd probably all pick some of the same ones. I mean, ones that haven't been mentioned yet. I just think that the first time we see Annie and Shirley pull up in the golf cart, or like the cop cruiser, they drive it to the crime scene, and then they're talking to the dean. There's some good lines in there, but then you mentioned Abed like telling the dean what to say, and you got 24 hours to solve this case, and it just
your badges and your one breakers now.
Yeah.
Get out of my stuff.
Abed in the background, like you kind of forget that he's there, and then every time he comes up, you're like, oh yeah, Abed's here. I wonder what he can do this time. What's he going to say?
Something.
Yeah.
Hey, I got to go to the bathroom. If I give you the rest of these chocolate covered raisins, will you save my seat?
Yeah.
I also liked Annie's line is like, people call me psycho because in high school I had a mental breakdown. Like I got addicted to pills.
Yeah.
Which that was one of my, I don't want to say nitpicks, but like she really kept leaning on the drug thing, which I know that's like what she's trying to move past is like she's trying to be her own person.
But maybe they used the joke too many times and so you noticed it.
I really expected Shirley to be like, we get it. You took drugs in high school or something like that.
Nope. No, I think it's invisible. But yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I don't know. Not really a huge thing. It was like a minor annoyance. It's like, okay, Annie, we get it. You took pills. We know that. Right. But she's trying to be like, that's the only thing she's done up to that point. That's crazy. So it's kind of the humor is like, all she's done is
talk about how she used to be
pills. That's the only crazy thing she's done.
Yeah. But I think, and that's the point that she's trying to make is like, people think that I'm really young. And so I don't have any experience. Like she says like, I have moves that I haven't even seen yet. Like, I really did like the scene where they go and interrogate Jeff. She like slams his head on the table. Like
they handcuff him.
She's gonna put you in a kitchen of pain. And they have like a pizza cutter. Yeah. Like, were they actually gonna like garrote his neck? Like,
I love that. Oh god.
Out of context community.
Out of context community. Exactly right.
Oh god.
That could have been part of the darkest timeline where like, what if Annie and Shirley actually slit Jeff's throat?
Oh, jeez. Leading the class, what you got, Jonathan?
Oh yeah, for leading the class, I had Abed for this one, and for this one, I just kind of went off like Abed obviously is in small doses, but I think like we kind of joked about this. He's like the perfect the seventh man off the bench, where it's like he's only in for like 9 minutes, but like he made 7 threes, so it's like that kind of thing for me. So that's why I picked.
I'm gonna say Annie and Shirley because I don't think you can pick one without the other. Mm-hmm. I mean the bad cop, like
bad cop.
Yeah, what you gonna do? That plot for this episode, I just think is so. Again, it's like such a minor occurrence, but they turn it into this like really over the top drama where it's like Abed's literally like turning into a cop show in his in his head, and he's making it happen, and they're chasing Jeff like through campus and pepper spraying each other and like slamming him into the table. And I mean, their chemistry, their friendship is so underrated. I think just them together as buddy cops makes for a very entertaining episode. But then you also get the point of plot, which is kind of the payoff, is that they're both trying to be seen as more than just the timid, like, that's so nice. We're these little cutesy girls. Yeah. They're trying to be seen as like badasses. And so, I mean, you kind of feel for them. Like, yeah, it's funny seeing them together as cops, but there's also that payoff like that. This is a really good device to move their characters and their relationships along. Mm-hmm. It's funny, but it also works as we're both trying to be seen as cooler than what people think of us. Like we know we're cool. People just haven't seen it yet, and we're trying to like make ourselves look cooler. And I think that I just feel like they both. You mentioned like the Allison Brie, like when she's after she pepper sprayed herself, and she's like she just has like these different mannerisms and like her different voices. I don't know what you call it, but she just got some really good delivery. And then I mean, again, Shirley, I think as the mom of 2 boys, single mom, Christian, kind of middle-aged housewife. And we're now seeing her turn into kind of like a really like a cool mom. Like she's got some moves.
She says that. She's like, once you have 2 kids, people put you on the margins.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah.
But like we saw in the episode with the Christmas fight where Jeff takes on Anthony Michael Hall as the boy. She hits a guy with a candy cane. So like, Shirley can hold her own.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, she's kind of cool. Like,
stay out of mine more.
Yeah.
Is Allison Brie in the MCU?
Yeah. She
Yvette Nicole Brown is because she's in Endgame.
Yeah. I don't think Allison Brie is in.
You're thinking of Planetina from Rick and Morty. Like she's in that, but you say I could see her being in it. I don't know who she would play, but
she was my choice to play She-Hulk, but obviously that's not going to happen.
Yeah. That would have been good. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
she's a better actor than the She-Hulk. I'm just saying.
Yeah. You're running out of. No. Marvel running out of ideas.
Yeah,
they'll have Thor Frog before they run out of ideas, right?
I loved it. Like a little thing about that self pepper spray scene. Like that's pepper spray. That was CGI, right? Like the actual.
It probably was. If it wasn't CGI, it's probably just like water vapor.
Yeah,
like, I don't think they would have put actual.
Exactly.
I'll just buy my groceries from a safer neighborhood this week.
Yeah. But I just loved like when she like was running into it. Like there's a point when she was like, just like the scream. I like a weird thing about me. I love like screams and stuff like that in shows. Like
whenever it's not just supposed to be like, oh, it's loud, so it's funny.
Yeah, but like when it actually like really has to use like their voice and just like, God, like
I'll admit,
I love that little bit that she does. Go ahead.
Because I admit I used to be hardcore against celebrity crushes because like there's no point, like because you're never gonna marry them, they're not gonna marry you. Like Allison Brie is one of my celebrity crushes. Her and Rashida Jones, like if they were in a movie together, I'd go watch it. Right?
It's I will. Okay. No, it's interesting to think like her and Dave Franco didn't see it. Like I still don't see it. Like obviously, hopefully they're happy, but that's just me. All right.
Christian, have you done Leading the Glass yet?
Oh, no, I haven't. So I think I didn't give one out to just one person. I thought everybody killed it in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I thought again, Britta, like I was on her side. Like I wanted her joke to pay off. Like, and obviously she should have come forward because the episode at one of the first episodes, like she cheated on the test. Like, so she already had to fess up once in Spanish class. So it's kind of weird that she had to do it twice. But like you were saying, Annie and Shirley really step into their own of like, we're going to overcompensate because we're used to being these like really, 5'4", stay-at-home mom, 18-year-old college student. We're used to being that, so we're going to kind of step up and go over. So they learned their lesson there. Pierce is excited to graduate his cult, which again, it's kind of sad that he's part of a cult, but like he didn't do anything wrong. Like he's just excited to do it. And then like I was saying, like the dean has like a lot of really funny lines in this episode. So I didn't give one out for this just because I felt like everybody loved the class.
I got you.
So yeah.
For extra credit, what's his name? I was gonna say Lloyd.
Leonard.
Thank you. I was like, I know something.
Leroy.
Yeah. Leonard runs in and yells "Baba Booey," which is a catchphrase often shouted as a verbal prank during moments of high tension in live TV broadcasts. Originally said on the Howard Stern show by his former producer Gary Delabate. And yeah, so like I've always heard that. Like I heard it on TV shows and stuff like that reference, and I never knew where it was from. And so I kind of like looked it up.
That's strike 2. What was strike 1? What did Leonard do that strike 1?
Good question. He was swimming during their trial in episode 5.
That's right. Yeah. You're right.
Abed, I was thinking about this, like a bit of a question. I feel like because Abed says his cable was out for the week, so like he was following them around. Do you feel like Abed's the kind of person that would steal cable? Because I kind of feel like he would, but like not in the sense of like he's a thief that's like trying to like.
I feel like there'd be a line where, and he's like, "This sweet old lady at Best Buy had dementia and confused me for her grandson, so she signed me up for a year of cable."
Yeah,
and I didn't feel like paying it, so I let it run out. Like I feel like that would have been something.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't think he would have intentionally like hijacked the satellite. I mean, little known tip: if you're getting your internet through a cable provider, you can also just tap into your cable through that. You have a splitter, so
And then last thing, I think the post credit was the first Troy and Abed in the morning.
We're not recording this.
Yeah.
Why would anybody want to watch this?
Yeah.
Not the podcast. I was talking about Troy and Abed. Yeah.
It's like, pause it,
Take it.
What do you guys got?
I feel like the chase scene of Shirley and Annie, like they search his backpack, they search Jeff's backpack, and then they chase him. They would have had a lot more weight if we didn't already know that Britta was the one who did it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not saying it would have been a huge reveal. Like again, this is a 23-minute episode, but like he was like, Britta planted those in my backpack. And I was just like frustrated because like, well, I know that. Why don't you know that?
Yeah.
So I feel like, yeah, if you would have gotten to the end of the episode and there's a security cam footage of Britta doing it or something, I feel like the chase scene would have been more like exciting or just kind of like, oh, it's funny that Jeff is the one running from them because he's their friend normally. Like, yeah, it wasn't a huge nitpick. It was just a little thing.
I like that. For my final, like, I guess verdict for me, I would probably say I would give this Tennessee Titans out of Los Angeles Rams last season. So like good and like
wild card round,
all around like pretty strong. But I still don't see that. I still don't see this as like a championship level episode.
I don't get the hype
for me. Yeah, you want me to dick ride it? I don't like it. Okay, but yeah, that's for me. I would say like I think there's a lot of good elements here, but I don't know. For me, I don't know if I was in a bad mood or something like that. I just didn't laugh that much as I thought I would, because I remember like thinking this episode, like, oh, this is the Annie and Shirley, badass cop episode. Like, oh,
do you think because you compare it to the SVU, the Law and Order episode?
I bet I do. Yeah,
I think I do.
Mm-hmm.
I think this one starts off a little slow, but it picks up. Again, the Shirley Annie plot I think is hilarious, and I think this episode does something. Maybe it's happened in other episodes, but I can't think of another one that does this. There are some funny lines, but there's also just some like non-speaking moments that like made me laugh. Like a lot of the parts of the show that make you laugh, it's a joke. It's something that somebody says that makes me laugh.
Yeah.
But in this one, like Britta like steps on the frog, which is
that was good.
Which is kind of funny. Which the sound effect's a little bit like comical, but like you have to know what's going on, so I get it. Or Annie Hipper spraying herself. We mentioned that, which there's some vocalization, but she's not saying something funny. It's watching her spray herself is funny. And then like when they dumped the bag full of tiny sombreros out, I just started cracking up. I don't know why that was so funny to me to see these little tiny hats come out.
Yeah.
But this episode has a lot of those moments where nothing's really said. It's just like the visual gag is what gets me to laugh. And that's not something that happens. There's other episodes where that happens, but not a lot for Community. So for that being kind of different and making me laugh about something that I see, not just what I hear. I think that's one of the highlights for this. So I give it like an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Probably closer to a 7 than a 9. But
is that, are you talking,
like a 7.8.
Are you talking hours or nautical miles?
I'm talking leagues.
You're right. I agree. This was an episode where I felt like it was a lot of really clever stuff. Like this felt like a Community episode. I really hated the Slater plotline, that whole part of the season. Like it felt like a sitcom. This feels like a Community episode, and I think it's kind of unfair to compare this to the Law and Order episode because it comes later. I think this is the part of the season where it's like, okay, I can allow myself to enjoy this season because it's Community. Like the first half of the season is like, okay, like grin and bear it. It's the first season of MASH. It's the first season and a half of The Office. Like it's still trying to find its footing. So I really liked it. This was something that I was thinking about while I was watching it. Like the idea of cadavers in medical school. Like I'm not a doctor by any, not a doctor. It is very interesting to me how the idea of like donating your body to science is. Like, I think especially because we all come from like a background of like religious faith. Like the body is just sort of like a vessel for like your soul, your spirit. And like once you die, like your body is just there, right? So I maybe it's like part of the conflict between like religion and medicine that I've seen like as a history major. But they talked about what was the name of the guy, like the guy's name whose body it was? Like was it Richard or Roger?
I don't remember.
Anyway,
yeah.
Robert. But I don't know. Like I've never. I mean, I've been to funerals and I've seen like corpses and stuff, but I've never like gone and like dissected a human arm or like anything like that. And I was even talking a couple days ago with somebody who's from the college over in Kirksville, and they have like medical school. So the mom was telling me that what they'll do is they'll buy half of a cadaver and they'll buy a cadaver and split the cost with another school in the area. So it's like the students will get the top half of the cadaver for 1 year and then the bottom half of the cadaver for another year. Like I know consciously like there's nothing wrong with that because that person made the decision to donate their body to science, but like it just doesn't sit right with me for some reason. You know what I mean? This is like, am I the only one who thinks about this stuff? Like
I guess I'm thinking about it now. It, like you said, it is a voluntary choice. So it's not like, I don't know.
Or like I remember, let me add on something. Maybe this will help a little bit, or maybe it won't at all. I remember last year, everybody was like, you know, I want to go to mortuary school, and I was like, why? Because like it was really big on TikTok of like, what is it like to work at a mortuary, like as a mortician, and like the idea of, you know, how does it feel to work at a funeral home and to like be in the death business? Like that's what you do for a living, is dealing with dead people. Like, is there like a weird disconnect, or do you in that moment, are you able to separate like the fact that this is a human being? Like if you're doing an autopsy on somebody, like do you put that at the back of your mind, or like does that settle with you? I don't know. I guess I'd have to ask somebody who's done that before. Hopefully somebody with a medical license who's done it, not just for fun. But
bro, I know.
Why are you locking the door? Why are you turning the lights off?
Yeah. All right.
Oh, I guess if I had to rate this episode though, I don't know. I don't really have a funny.
What?
I would rate this. Hold on.
It's your brand.
Okay, if I had to give this a rating, I would give it a Cookie Crunch Coyote out of the Burger King. If I had to go for
Cookie Crisp, you uncultured swine.
What did I say?
You said Cookie Crunch.
Okay, dang. Well,
we can redo that if you want.
That's a Millville version.
Malto meal.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll if I had to give this episode a rating, I would rate it a Cookie Crisp Wolf Coyote out of a Pringles Man logo. In terms of like logo brands that I enjoy, I think I'd give it that.